Welcome to The Startup. I'm Rebecca Jarvis. And we're joined by John Mackey, the co-CEO and co-founder of Whole Foods, and an author now, the author of Conscious Capitalism. It's great to have you with us, John.
Thanks for having me on today.
I am really interested in your story because your story begins 1978. A 25-year-old dropped out of college, decides to start a health food store when really there aren't very many health food stores at all in this country, about half a dozen of them. What drove you to do that?
I got really interested in food when I was in my early 20s. I moved into this vegetarian co-op and lived there for a couple of years, learned how to cook. I had my food consciousness awakened. And so I thought, I really am into food. I'm into healthy food. And went to work for a small natural food store, and then I hatched the idea to start one with my girlfriend, and we raised $45,000 from friends and family. And
you just went around to friends and family and said, I have this idea. You've never seen it done before, but I'm going to do it?
And bet on me, pretty much. I think entrepreneurs are a little bit like sophisticated panhandlers because they're out there begging for money, and they're selling people on their dreams and their passions. And I think that's why people invested, because I put forth a dream and had passion, and they basically bet on me. It turned out to be a good bet for them.
What does a sophisticated panhandler need to do? Is there a line that gets you?
Got to dress a little bit better, and they've got to have a better story than just help me, because the entrepreneurs help me and I'll help you. We'll both prosper.
A big part of the Whole Foods story, or at least the beginnings of it, is this flood, the Memorial Day flood, 1981. Store completely ruined, $400,000 worth of damage. Yes. And everybody somehow pitches in to make it better.
It was extraordinary. The flood happened. We had 8 feet of water in our store. We were bankrupt. And then we showed up for work the next day, and we had all these people we didn't know, or we kind of knew. We recognized them, but they'd shown up to help us clean up. I mean, we had just this horrible, everything was tumped over. It was just a huge mess. And they came in with brooms and mops, and we asked, why are you doing this? And they said, we just love Whole Foods. We want you to reopen, so we're going to pitch in and help. So the neighbors helped us. Our team members, we couldn't pay them, so they just worked for free initially. We had the bank loaned us more money. Suppliers gave us new inventory. So all of the stakeholders helped Whole Foods Market get back on its feet. Changed our company, changed me.
So you were on life support, and people recognized it.
We were on life support, and they did recognize it, and they cared enough to help us. I think the fact that they cared about us because we cared about them. We were, even back then, a different kind of business that really cared about the people that worked for us and cared about our customers. I think that makes all the difference.
What gave you that idea in the first place, to care about the customer and to be different?
I think many retailers, particularly when they're young and small, get that, because every customer is important to the business. You're scratching out a living, you're trying to make your business successful, and you can't afford to have angry customers. So the owners are there working with the customers and serving them, and they're setting an example for everyone else. I think as companies get bigger and they have more and more stores, the owners can't be everywhere, but in a small business they can be. So I think that's the real explanation.
Back then, what were the most important things to running Whole Foods?
The most important things back then were probably just every day taking care of our customers, making sure we had the schedule right and that people showed up, and that we hired
simple things.
Very simple things, the basics of business. Any new business starts with the basic things, and then you build sophistication from there.
Back then, natural foods, organic foods were not that big. 6 stores or something like that in the country were selling them on a grocery store level. Now it's a much more significant part of the American diet. To what degree do you think the rest of the world is going to go organic, and what does that say about Whole Foods opportunities?
I think this is a fundamental trend. I mean, I heard for a long, long time, for decades really, that this was some kind of fad. Now Whole Foods is almost $12 billion in sales. And
do you think you started it, the fad?
There were, as you pointed out, a few other natural food supermarkets back when we got started. So we didn't invent this concept, but we were the ones that really grew it. So in that sense, Whole Foods Market's responsible for this growth in the natural and organic food industry. There were lots of food co-ops back then as well, I might add. So I think the co-ops probably were the first ones to really get this. But we were the ones that were able to popularize the idea and mainstream it.
You also made the idea of coming to work more pleasurable for your employees. According to Fortune, for example, you're one of the best companies to work for. You yourself cut back your salary to $1 in 2006. What do you think it takes today to make the type of workplace that people want to come to?
I think the most important thing is that you really have to care about the people that work for you. You can't just see them as means to the end of making money. You have to genuinely see your employees as a stakeholder in the business, and their flourishing, their happiness has to be a priority of the business, not an afterthought. You have to design the business around the fulfillment of the people that work there, because happy employees result in happy customers, which results in happy investors and a successful business.
And ideally your stock price goes up and
Exactly.
you make money.
It's a win-win-win.
Your book is Conscious Capitalism. When you look out at capitalists today, the leaders, Fortune 500 CEOs, which do you think are most illustrative of that point of view?
Well, as far as conscious capitalism goes, there's always going to be a continuum, right? So no company's perfect. Whole Foods Market's not perfect. We have lots of problems, lots of challenges, and we've evolved over time. But some of the ones I most admire are companies like Starbucks, Google, Panera Bread, Amazon.com, The Container Store, Bright Horizons. Even a couple of my competitors like Trader Joe's and Wegmans are, I think, pretty far along in the consciousness continuum as well. So Southwest Airlines has been one of the oldest and most conscious companies as well. Also a couple of companies that people don't know about in America very well, but a South Korea company called POSCO, fourth largest steel maker in the world, is an amazing company.
What's the common thread behind all of these companies?
They have a higher purpose besides just making money. Making money is essential to a business, but it's not why they exist. They exist to fulfill some type of purpose. Like Whole Foods, for example, we really want to sell healthy food to people that helps them avoid becoming fat and sick and can live longer lives. So that's always been at the core of what Whole Foods is trying to do as a business. So every company has the potential for that higher purpose. And then they have to commit to the stakeholders, not just the investors, but all of their stakeholders, the customers, their employees, their suppliers, their communities, their environment, and they have to do it in such a way that they develop strategies where all of those can simultaneously win.
I want to take a turn to food, since you mentioned that you do love food. What's your favorite food?
I really like salads. I like all kinds of beans. I love to cook. So I think of myself as I'm a vegan. I think of myself as a foodie vegan.
Do you have a comfort food?
Do I have a comfort food? You know, it's kind of like I do. I really like vegan, no oil mashed potatoes as a comfort food.
Vegan, no oil mashed
maybe
potatoes.
some black beans and a stir fry with good veggies. That would be an ideal meal for me.
Register 18.
Sir, 18, right there.
What's the average bill at each store?
I mean, what's the average basket price? Around $30.
$30. So most customers on average spend $30 each time they visit your store.
Well, it's kind of tricky because if somebody comes in for lunch, maybe they spend $8 to $10. But if they do a big basket, maybe they spend $100. So it depends upon, like in New York, actually the customer count's higher, but the average ticket size is lower because we have so many people that don't do the big shop because they can't load it up in their SUV and drive it home. If you go outside the city, though, the average basket size goes up, but the number of trips goes down.
What's the #1 purchased item at Whole Foods right now?
The same number, it might surprise you, the #1 purchase item at Whole Foods is water.
Water?
Yes.
Is there a brand? Is it Poland Springs or is it the Whole Foods water?
That probably because the type of brands varies around the country, but our 365 brand is across all of them, 365 bottled water.
When you look out on the future of Whole Foods, what would you like to see in the future that's different from the present?
Of course, that's my main job, is to always be thinking about how the company needs to evolve. And we're evolving in lots of different ways. I'm right now very focused still on helping America to be healthier. People are remarkably ignorant about healthy diet.
69%
overweight, 36% obese, and 80% of the dollars we spend on healthcare go for diseases like heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, cancer. These are largely diseases that are lifestyle related, and that goes back to diet. So main thing is I want Whole Foods to be more effective in educating our customers about how to eat a healthy diet so they stay healthy and they live to be 100 without getting these debilitating diseases.
Thanks so much for chatting with us,
Thanks
John
for having
Mackey.
me on, Rebecca.
And thank you for watching us on The Startup. Remember, if there's someone you'd like to see here, tweet us at Rebecca Jarvis, #TheStartup.